What I'm about to tell you is the best news so far in 2020. It is as far as I'm concerned anyway. Where's my cursor on? There it is. Because last night my time, this is from WikiLeaks, a federal judge ordered the release of Chelsea Manning. Quote, "The court finds Miss Manning's appearance before the grand jury is no longer needed, in light of which her detention no longer serves any coercive purpose." It says coercive there because that's what the grand jury was. The grand jury was convened and they wanted Chelsea Manning to testify against Julian Assange, and she said, "No, I've already testified in my own trial. There's nothing I'm going to say in this trial that's any different. You have my statement. I am not going to testify against him." Now, the reason they do this, and remember, it's good 6-7 years since Chelsea Manning's trial was, because they'll catch you out on a date or something like that. They'll catch you out on a date or a fact, so you might remember something different 5 years later than you did at the time. And then you're looking at contempt of court. Then you're looking at perjury, and she could be in real trouble. And obviously they want her to catch her out in something so they can go after Assange. And she said, "No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to testify against my publisher." So the grand jury threw her in prison and said, "You will testify, otherwise we'll put you in there for a long, long time." And they did. It was almost a year I think it was a year to the day, or almost a year to the day she was in there. I want to read this from Natasha Leonard from The Intercept, which is great. The Intercept isn't my favourite anymore, but this is a really good article. "A district court judge in Virginia ordered that Chelsea Manning be released from jail, where she has been held since last May for refusing to testify before a grand jury. The ruling itself is striking in what it fails to recognise. Quote, "The court finds Miss Manning's appearance before the grand jury is no longer needed, in light of which her detention no longer serves any coercive purpose." The judge noted, "The fact that coercive purpose of Manning's detention had long been shown to be absent, Manning has proven herself incoercible beyond any doubt, was not mentioned, nor was the fact that on Wednesday Manning attempted suicide. It was the most absolute evidence that she could not be coerced. She would sooner die." Yeah. She would sooner kill herself than violate her principles and testify. So the judge finally, after a year, released her. I'll continue with this article. "While Manning's release is vastly long overdue and most welcome, the framing and timing of the decision are galling. On Friday, Manning was scheduled to appear at a court hearing on a motion to end her continued imprisonment, predicated on her unshakable resistance proving coercion to be impossible and her incarceration therefore illegal. She endured months of extreme suffering, driving her to near death, but never wavered on her principled refusal to speak." Told you, it's a good article, this is. "The day before this hearing and the day after she made an attempt on her own life, the judge ruled that Manning is no longer needed by the grand jury. The court did not recognise that she is incoercible, nor that her detainment had become punitive. Indeed, a profoundly punitive element of her treatment will remain. Even after her release, the judge denied a motion to vacate the exorbitant fines Manning faces. She owes the state $256,000, which she is expected to pay, even though her fines were only accrued on one condition, that they coerce her to speak." Again and again, Manning and her legal team showed that her imprisonment was nothing but punitive and thus unjustifiable under legal statutes governing federal grand juries. Yet for nearly a year, Manning has been caged and fined $1,000 a day ever since she was subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury, which is investigating WikiLeaks. Manning has also insisted that there was never any justifiable purpose to asking her to testify. Hear, hear. As her support committee noted in a statement last May, Chelsea gave voluminous testimony during her court-martial. She has stood by the truth of her prior statements, and there is no legitimate purpose to having her rehash them before a hostile grand jury. For the court to admit, after nearly a year of torturous treatment, that further testimony from her is unnecessary adds insult to a very real injury. The government's treatment of Manning has been putrid. Good word. And continues to be, especially as she remains under the yoke of a state-enforced financial ruin. For unwavering resistance to government oppression in the name of social justice struggle and press freedom, Manning is owed our deepest admiration and all the support we can muster. You are not kidding, Natasha. You are not kidding. And here's where to support her. Here's her GoFundMe. I'll leave the link. In fact, I'll just copy this link and paste it into the chat. So if anybody does want to go and donate, they can do now. This is obviously to cover her legal fees, it says here. You can see there, she's already raised, this is brilliant, 92,000. It's fantastic. I'm going to go and donate either later tonight or tomorrow. I'm going to send 10 bucks, whatever I can. I suggest you do too. This person is an absolute goddamn hero. She's heroic. She really is. She deserves all of our gratitude. She would rather kill herself than violate her own morals and ethic code by testifying against her publisher for doing journalism. It gets better because Jeremy Hammond, who was also under grand jury subpoena, he's actually in prison for the Stratfor leak. That's also been dismissed. So this means the grand jury versus WikiLeaks is no more. At least that one. Technically, they could start another grand jury, I suppose, but it's unlikely, especially at, with the trial coming up in 8 weeks or whatever it is in May. That's Assange's trial, or the rest of his hearing, not a trial. So her torture, Chelsea Manning's torture, is hopefully now over and she can begin her recovery. I dare say that her recovery is going to take a long time and she might never fully recover from what they've put her through. That word that Natasha used there in her article, putrid. The treatment of her really has been putrid. And it was Obama that started it, remember. Don't all blame Trump. He could have pardoned her for this, but he didn't. He commuted the sentence. You have to ask, did he know something that we didn't? Edward Snowden said this on Twitter, which I thought was brilliant. The government cast Manning into a dungeon for resisting a scheme to make publishers of news subject to the Espionage Act. They offered to let her out in exchange for collaboration, but she chose her principles instead. That is moral strength. You are not wrong, Edward, and that is coming from somebody who knows exactly what moral strength is. So this is great news. It's fantastic news. It's the best news so far in 2020. Julian Assange's torture, however, continues. He's in Belmarsh prison, remember, right now. However, this is a good sign. We don't know what he's around the corner yet, but there's no doubt that this is a really good piece of news because it's showing how weak the United States case against Assange is. And also, it's helping more people become aware of his plight and aware of how important it is that he's freed, because they're merely trying to, well, let's face it, kill a journalist. They're trying to kill a journalist so they can keep their secrets, and that is not on. We have to stand up stand up to it. Chelsea Manning's free. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant news. But it's just a step. It's a giant step in the right direction. Jeremy Hammond is, his grand jury's finished. Next, let's free Julian Assange. Don't let them kill that person. Don't let them kill that man. Do everything you can to stop it. You know how they say, the penny's mightier than sword. Get writing. Write to your MP. Write to your mayor. Write to your council. Write to your doctor. Write to the, an Easter bunny if you want, you know? Get writing. Get talking. Chelsea Manning's free. Next is Julian Assange.